Welcome back to another episode of the Creator Deal, where we talk about everything and anything related to the creator economy. Today, it's going to be a solo episode because I just want to talk to you guys about certain things that happen within my agency and certain things that's happening in the space in general. And the number one thing that I'm noticing is that the creator economy is changing so rapidly. I've been in the industry for, I would say, about 3 to 4 years. And back in COVID, actually, I was a content creator. And during that time, it was around 2020, there wasn't actually a lot of opportunities because a lot of the brands didn't know about what content creation was going to be. Now you kind of see so much. You see UGC creators, you see influencers that are, you know, they have like millions of followers, hundreds and thousands of followers in general. And something that I'm noticing within this industry is that a lot of the content creators are turning into how do I turn this into money? And who doesn't love money, right? If you're doing something, if you're, working on a passion project, if you're creating content because you just love it, in the back of your mind, you're always thinking, how do I make money off of this? Because if you're not thinking about that, then I would say you're missing out on a lot of the money that's being made in the internet. And that's totally fine for a lot of people. Some people genuinely love to just create content. But I would say for the mass majority of the public, they actually enjoy the fact that they can make money doing something that they love. And that's totally okay. It's not like something, it's not a taboo topic where you have to be kind of, you have to stray away from that topic in general. Because I think the number one thing that people forget is that attention is today's economy. So what do I mean by this? Back in the early 2000s, I would say a lot of the money just came from hard work. It's you work a job, you get your first job at McDonald's, you work an hourly wage, and the money that you make is the money that you're going to be using or spending for your livelihood. As time progresses, technology progresses. As technology progresses, the way you make money progresses as well. And so later down in the 2010s, you actually see the shift in the economy where a lot of the, jobs that are available out there and the big time jobs tend to be like those tech jobs. And so you'll see software engineers in the 2010s making a lot of money. You'll see that software engineering coding tends to be the number one trending major in the United States. You'll see a case of brain drain where we bring, top talent from India, from Pakistan, and they come over to the US so that they can have an honest living. That was the way. Now, the attention is the currency. It's no longer you're spending your time and you're giving up time for the money that you make, but rather it's more about how can I gain people's attention? You'll see this a lot in a lot of the brands. You'll see this very frequently when you start talking to content creators in general, because the number one metric that every single content creator knows is how do I get my watch time up? How do I get them to stay for the entire video? How do I get this video hook? How do I make sure that they don't scroll past 2 seconds of my video? It's a real thing. And a lot of people, they forget to answer this question. What makes people want to stay for the video in the first place? Right? Because, when I think about a video, when I think about watching something, am I watching it for educational purposes? Am I watching it for educational purposes? Am I watching it just for the sake of it? It depends, right? There's so many variables when it comes to content creation. You'll see so many different content creators out there that exist. People that make, like the outdoor boys. I believe his name is Nick. He makes videos about him going camping and surviving in like the really cold weather or really hot weather. And people love that content because number one, it's authentic, right? He doesn't do editing. He doesn't edit much. He doesn't add like over powerful, like, text that covers what he's saying. It's just him in the woods. Nowadays, you'll see AI just taking over the entire industry. And when you see AI, a lot of people think, oh, they're making AI content, AI videos, where they're making AI edited videos. And somewhat, it's actually so easy to detect. It's so easy to detect whether they edited it with AI or not. So the number one thing is, how do we counteract that? How do we go against the grain so that when we do come up to the point where AI is being overused, we got to be at the point where we don't use AI anymore. We got to get to the point where we start being ourselves, editing the things ourselves, editing with intention rather than fast working engines. And so a lot of the content creators forget this ideology of, hey, let me try to make content because my audience loves it. We are so past that point now. Like you guys are content creators for a reason, and you guys have viewers for a reason. Why are you trying to take them away, the people that have been following you, for your editing style, for the work that you put in, for the way that you express your story, whether you do Get Ready With Me or whether you do the vlogs or whatever. They followed you for a reason, and now you're trying to incorporate AI into all of this. Hey AI, script this video for me. Hey AI, how should I edit my videos? Why have we gotten to that point? If you're a content creator and you want to make money, you have to understand what your audience wants from you in the first place. This goes the same way for brand deals. When I talk to a lot of the brand deal owners, right? Brand owners, sorry. When I talk to them, obviously the engagement rate matters. Obviously the follower count matters. Obviously all these different metrics matter to them because that's how they're going to calculate how much you're worth. But there's a secondary part that these brand owners are looking for now. They're looking for, hey, is their content overflooded with AI? Can we easily detect whether or not they have AI or not? Boom. Like, I couldn't tell you guys like how many times I've been asked this by brand owners, where even influencer marketing managers that work at really big companies and like, you know, brands like Gymshark or Lululemon or Skin 1004, right? Or Olive Young or whatever it might be. Sephora. So many of these influencer marketing managers are now looking for genuine, authentic content. And when you can't get those authentic content out there, they're like, okay, yeah, we don't want to work with this person because we feel like they're just fabricating everything. If your content ever gets to the point of, hey, my content is being fabricated from point A to point B, that's when you know that a lot of these brands won't work with you. And surprisingly, this is actually very common in the line of work that I do as well. So usually when I talk to influencer marketing managers or brand owners, a lot of the times it's done through email. And when I email a lot of these people, I don't really use AI. Because what AI has is they have hyphens. All of a sudden it sounds super fabricated. All of a sudden it sounds like I just don't care about what the project or campaign has to do. And that's not what I want my agency to be. I want to be able to be in there, person to person, talking about the goals, talking about the metrics, and seeing whether or not we can make this a successful campaign. That's what I want to do. But, you know, obviously I come into contact with like a lot of like AI generated emails, and that's fine. That's fine with me. But like sometimes you just gotta understand like, wow, some of these AI generated emails are just so bad. They're terrible. The way do you guys even proofread them? Like you guys have to read them and like you guys have to understand. It's not good. It's not good at all. And so a lot of people are like, hey, AI is taking my job. And I'm like, okay, what AI can't do is they can't take your creativity away. Whether you're a content creator, whether you're working at a big company, they can't take your creativity away. Because you start thinking for yourself, you start thinking, hey, what can I do to enhance this idea? Then maybe AI can help you. But to give you like big blowdown of what the non-AI use is. It's to use your creative freedom. That's what a lot of these brands are hiring you for. I'm an influencer marketing agency owner, and I work with tons and tons of brands. Probably your favorite brands I've probably worked with already. And I get connected with like their brand representative, and they ask me, "Hey, can I get a list of your creators that are in your circle?" Obviously, I give them a filter list, and it's really important to give them that list with speed, and it's really important to give them a filtered list so that it's actually applicable to their brand. What a lot of the agencies do is they just send over a PDF of all the creators that are in their database. What we do is we actually filter out each one and make sure that each creator that is on there is with intention. And so, does this help with conversion rate at all? I don't know. I try to calculate it as much as possible, but the number one thing that I want to get out of the exchanges that we have, whether we work with them or not, is can we be human? Can we talk person to person so that it becomes a fruitful conversation rather than just AI generated email over AI generated email? And so, if you're a content creator, I want you to think about it the same way. Yes, it's hard to script. Yes, it's hard to edit. Trust me, I've been there, I've done that. And the reason why I'm not doing that is because I hate doing that. And yes, you can use AI to kind of help expedite that process. But don't forget that the person behind writing those checks for you are human. They're going to be reading it. And so if you're reading it, well, maybe it's really important that you proofread what you're about to send. And so, that's what I wanted to talk about today. It's kind of like the authentic self, right? And this actually goes for brand owners as well. A lot of the brand owners, sometimes they get overflooded with a lot of the work and they get overflooded with whatever they need to do. And so they use AI or they use, virtual assistants or whatever that might look like. And to me, that's okay. That's okay to use. But as long as you have a good SOPs that put in place to make sure that the communication between point A, person A, to point B, person B, is authentic, then I think it is what generates a good collaboration or project. I have a really funny story, but few months ago, I would say probably back in February of 2026, I've worked with this jewelry brand. This jewelry brand wanted a lot of these content creators, this list of content creators, and they wanted to make sure that they followed the script, they followed this content guidelines. They want to make sure that everything that is on there is presented the way that they want. And I said, sure, no problem, because that's what you want. That's how you want to manage your campaign. Totally fine with me. And so what I did was I was able to source those creators. I brought them the deal. I signed all of them. And then the brand all of a sudden says, hey, number one, I don't think these creators are going to be portraying this message well. And I said, okay, no, that's totally fine. But could I understand why you think that way? And they just said it's not a good fit because I don't think their content is applicable to what we're trying to achieve here. And then I dug again and I was like, okay, then what exactly are you looking for? What type of creators are you looking for? Because they first mentioned they just wanted wellness lifestyle creators, and I was like, okay, I can totally do that. And then later on, when we got down to what creators that they wanted, they were like, oh, I want this person exactly like how I referred this influencer. And so it's like, okay, I mean, I can totally source those creators for you, right? But it's super hard to, first of all, have a carbon copy of the influencer that you loved working before. It's just hard. Because a lot of the content creators that make content is not always about one specific thing. If it's about jewelry and reviewing jewelry, I think they might be a really good partner. But a lot of the other content creators, incorporate those products into their content rather than their content being about the certain product itself. And so you need to think about, okay, if that is the case, if I can't get that exact carbon copy, what can I do to kind of replicate that? Well, number one, you need to have a well-defined campaign structure. And with the campaign structure, it's more about what exactly can I achieve with this and what is the goal or metric that is going to be calculated in order for me to figure out what exactly is going to be a good campaign for this. It always comes down to that, guys. It always does. And obviously, at the end of the day, we were able to source the creators and we had a really good, successful campaign. And then I think it's because we actually came down to what exactly is it that they needed. What type of creators that they wanted. How many followers. What is the engagement rate that you wanted. What metric would be deemed successful if we were to be able to achieve that. And so, in the perspective of a content creator, obviously you might think that you make really good content for a certain brand. But in reality, I want you to think to yourself, are you the type of creator that brands would want to work for? If you make, really cool vloggy styled content and the other content is posting some sus content, do you think a lot of the brands are going to look at that and be like, yep, that is the perfect person? No. That's not necessarily the case, guys. You guys have to remember that your social media platforms, the things that you post, your photos, your stories, your videos, that's your resume. That's what brand owners are looking at. They're number one looking at consistency too. They're looking at how often you post. They're looking at what you post. They're looking at the comments. And so when it comes down to what am I actually posting the content for, is it for shits and giggles? Is it to genuinely try to make money? Is it to make networking with big brands a possibility? You need to start having that clear thesis. This goes the same with the brands. A lot of the brands, when they work with content creators, they just free fire. They're like, okay, let's work with this, let's work with this, let's work with this person. And they're just like, okay, we'll spend $5,000 on these creators and we'll call it a day. For me, I try to make sure that they understand exactly what it is because I don't want them free firing and then have it seem like it's a good campaign at all. Why? Because I think it's actually more important that we have good relationships, good intentions. Make sure that the brands know exactly why they're working with a certain creator. Because once we get to the point of free firing, I think that's going to be a failed campaign. More likely than not. And so that's why I wanted to talk about, the intentions, right? Intentions of a campaign, intentions of content creation, intentions of why we decide to, have this mentality of how can I make money with the followers that I have, or with the influence that I have. If you consider yourself an influencer, in the word influencer, the word influencer, influence exists. Influencer is the ability to influence. And so that's why a lot of the brands come to influencers, is because they want to borrow your power to influence. But if you don't have that type of influence, they don't want to work with you. A lot of content creators forget this. And so when I talk to a lot of brands, brand owners, influencer marketing agencies, and owners in general, a topic comes up. And the topic is usually, are they content creators or are they influencers? Because to them, That's two different labels. Content creators could just be like a UGC creator where you just make content for them. An influencer could be a content creator and an influencer where they have the audience that would actually listen to what they're saying, that would understand what they want to portray, and then go with that. Boom. All of a sudden, we're thinking about our content, right? It's really important to be super clear about what asset you have. You know, I bring on a lot of these guests, a lot of content creators as a guest. I try to listen to their perspective. I listen to why they decided to make content in the first place. You know, what made them want to monetize their channels. And a lot of the times it's very, very similar in terms of the goals, in terms of why they do it, in terms of what made them want to do it in the first place. It's very similar, you guys. If you're content creators, you guys have very similar intentions. And that's not to say it's a bad thing. It's just to say, is your intention as clear as day? You know, as I work with different types of creators and different types of brands, different issues always come up. On the brand side, it's more about metrics, it's about success, it's about how do we accomplish what we said that we're going to accomplish. For the content creator side, it's more about the deliverables. It's how many videos am I going to be posting? What is the usage term? How can I protect my content that I create for them? But the one thing that I realized is instead of focusing so much on what success looks like, why don't we focus on on what the strength of a brand is, the strength of a creator is, and come up with a collaboration that highlights both. A lot of the times the brand's power comes from their brand. It's their name. It's how recognizable their name is in the industry. If you're in the skincare industry and you have a very well-known brand name, maybe that's your power. If you're in the fitness space and a lot of the fitness wear that gym people wear is affiliated with that name, that's your power. I don't want to say that they take advantage of content creators, but if you have the stronger the branding that you have, the more leverage you have. It's a crazy concept, right, guys? It's a crazy concept, but it is very absolutely true. Same goes for the content creator side. The more influence you have, the more power and leverage you have. The reason why I make content, and what I mean by content is posting these podcasts, is not only to educate the content creators, but it's also to just rant and talk about my experiences. Talk about what I know about the industry. Because this industry is still so new, and I'm still figuring out everything day to day. And not only is it growing faster than what my company is growing at, but it's also evolving. And I want to make sure that I'm talking and externally thinking about these things because I want my company to grow just as fast as the industry is. Please don't get stuck up on people trying to sell like courses on how to make money through EGC, because I don't sell courses on that, but I know a lot of people that do. There's no you can obviously make $10,000 a month being a content creator. It's very possible. But does that mean it's going to come exactly the way that you imagined? Probably not. It's not. And for the brand owners that are wanting to scale their influencer program, do you think just by spending money on influencers is going to be a good way to manage a campaign? Probably not as well. That's why you have a lot of the agencies that exist. And guys, like that, I'm gonna tell you now. There was an email that I got the other day, and they said we don't work with agencies or managers because they hike up their rates so much to the point where we know that it's gonna be out of budget. That's legitimately an email that I got. I can even pull it up if I wanted to. And you know what's funny is that I understand. I understand where they're coming from. They probably have had a lot of different experiences with content creators and their managers managing things. And so it kind of leaves like this sour taste in their mouth where they don't exactly know or want to work with these influencer marketing managers now because they just hike up the price so much. I think a lot of the agencies that exist kind of created that notation because the agencies that a lot of these brands work with just do it for the money. And obviously, making money as an agency owner is super important. It's to keep your company afloat, it's to make sure that nothing is falling apart. Yes, I understand that. But to me, and in the company that I not work for, but the company that I've built, the culture is how can we create and keep this relationship going for further on. I have brand contacts that contact me whenever they have a new campaign because they know that everything that I do is with intention. The creator that I propose to them, the budget, everything is with intention. And everything that I do with them is continued with speed. So a lot of the brands come to me and they ask me, "Hey, we have this campaign, we have this budget. Could you get us some creators that would fit within this ICP?" And I'm sure, of course I can. And within a few hours later, I give them the list. I don't wait 2 days. I don't wait a day. I don't wait a week to send that over. I literally send it a few hours after that email is sent. Because speed, when it comes to deliverables, is going to be your number one networking power. So how does this apply to you creators? Maybe communication and the way you deliver the content needs to be with speed. I truly believe that. I think it's super important to come with speed, to communicate with speed. And the ability to create content, script, and make sure that the campaign is on time is what the brands are looking for. And if you're able to honor those requests, or honor that without even being asked to, they might want to work with you even for a longer period of time. That's just the way it goes. I have great relationships with brand owners. So what happens is when a creator asks me, "Hey, I want to get in contact with this specific brand," and I said, "Okay, that's totally cool. Let me ask my network." Then I go ask my network. Because in my industry, the networking is where the power lies. Sometimes it's important to understand exactly what you need to do to get those networks. But other times, it's more important to keep those networks. Check up on them. See if they need any help with anything. Maybe you do things for free. Maybe you refer your creators where other people's creators for free. That's what building a relationship is. And so relationship is power in this industry. But speed is what's going to drive the campaign. and work for, retainers and longer period of times. Pretty crazy concept, isn't it? No, I'm only a couple episodes into this podcast, and the reason why I love it, and even I do it without the views and anything, is because I get to externally think. People are internal thinkers or they're external thinkers. Internal thinkers are more like I think about my problems within my head and within what I think is, you know, within whatever my headspace is at. External thinking is more about you talk, and you start thinking about the things as you're talking. It's a weird concept, but I'm an external thinker. So when I talk about these concepts, it just flows naturally to me because I'm thinking on the spot. So a lot of people ask me like, "Hey, do you prepare for these podcast episodes?" Well, I prepare to the point of like, what topic am I going to be talking about for like the first 10 minutes of the show? And after that, I just go off tangent because I'm like, okay, where should I take this from now? I think it's important to utilize what you have and whatever ability that you think you have. So if you know that you're an internal thinker, maybe it's good to start writing down the things that you're thinking about. If you're an external thinker like me, maybe it's good to start a podcast like exactly what I'm doing. I'm enjoying this process very, very much because not only do I get to connect with the creators that I bring on board, not only do I get to connect with the brand owners that come on to this podcast, I get to understand them. I get to build a relationship with them. I get the ability to just learn more about who they are as a person rather than just a transactional business, thing. And I think that's what I'm loving most about this. This is applicable to you creators as well. Maybe collaborating with other content creators. Maybe collaborating with brand owners. Rather than just having everything be done through email, maybe you get on a call and you just try to understand where they're coming from. I don't know. Maybe it's something that you can take a page out of my book for. Because genuinely, guys, I think in the age of AI, where everything is fabricated, it's harder and harder to have a human connection. But once you have that human connection, man, is it beautiful. It's beautiful. And same with like your audiences, right? Like if you have an audience that genuinely cares about you and you want to provide as much value as possible, why don't you start by showing that you are human in this technology world where everything could be just made through technology? You know, I have a lot of hardships when I run a company. It's a hard thing to do. When you have to work with speed, when you have to beat out other competition, when you have to adapt as fast as you can, there's a lot of headaches and there's a lot of things that go on in the background. But even through that, the most enjoyable part about my company and the work that I do is the fact that I get to have this connection with a lot of these brands and people that I never imagined that I would have a connection with. I never imagined that I would be able to get in contact with Nike. I never thought I would get in contact with Sephora. And to me, that accomplishment means a lot more than the money or the transactional things that come across a lot of the different things in the business. I can brag about the fact that, hey, within a phone call, I can contact this top tier influencer. Within a phone call, I can to contact this brand owner. I think that's the true blessing in this industry. If I were to be a content creator with thousands and thousands of followers, I think I would start thinking about maybe who can I lean on in the industry to learn more? Who can I trust? Who can I work with, collaborate with? Because those that are able to have that network and collaboration, the more they're able to grow. Just what it is. This episode was mainly about that. I was just ranting on about, a lot of the different things, especially that goes on in the industry, different things that happen in the world, and maybe how you can stand out as a content creator, or if you're a brand owner just listening in on the perspective of it. I hope this was somewhat of a valuable episode. I try not to rant for too long, but it just tends to be at the pace that it is now. So thank you guys again for watching or listening. I will see you guys next time.